Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. Your host here, Matt Zahab. We are buzzing as always. Love having a fellow Canadian on the show, and that is exactly what we have today. It's actually two Canadians back to back on the pod. We'd love to see this. Sort of building on some Canadian momentum going into, I guess, sort of Canada Crypto Week, Canada Crypto Month, which is now May. Used to be August with blockchain futurists. Now we have blockchain futurists in early May. We have consensus as well in Toronto. It's going to be a great month for crypto in Canada coming up. Time for the intro. Today's star of the show is Jag Sidhu. He is the core developer at Syscoin and part of the management team at SYS Labs, building Bitcoin's only modular network. Jag has a strong background in software engineering and is a pioneer in the crypto industry. As the core developer, he has marshaled the world's fifth oldest surviving cryptocurrency into its second decade, creating tools, technologies, and services that enhance the functionality and usability of the Syscoin platform. Jag, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How you doing this lovely morning in Van City?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's nice and sunny, getting warmer now, so it's good. Well, although it's not really all igloos up here, it's pretty good, and I advise other people to come check this place out if they haven't. It's cheap. I mean, there's a lot of deals worldwide, but it's a good time to travel if you've been saving up and try some of these places out. I believe you're in Toronto as well, right?
Yeah, I'm in Toronto, and it is still super cold. I got back 2 weeks ago, and I've been freezing my balls off. I go for walks and I still need a toque and a gloves. And for the non-Canadian listeners, we call like a little beanie. We call that a toque. I've been wearing those every day. I have not, I've yet to gain my cold tolerance. So
Yeah.
got to get on that.
Well, I guess most people are in the suburbs nowadays anyways. We just work online, so it's the same anywhere you go. But
yeah,
it's warming up and that's good. So ready for the spring and summer.
100%. Let's jump into it. Before we get into Syscoin, and you guys had a wild week. We are recording on Monday the 14th. This episode will air on Thursday the 17th. But what a wild week for you guys last week with the huge launch. We'll get into that in 1 second. But it's time to start with the overall market. Last week was one of the most wild weeks I think both of us have ever been a part of with the Trump tariffs. You had Liberation Day. You had the tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off. Huge liquidity shit show, huge volume shit show. It was absolutely insane. What was that week like for you, Jag? Was that not one of the craziest weeks we've seen in a hot minute?
Yeah, tariff tantrums, they called it, right? So I think it's just a symptom of the changing of the guard. I think there's a monetary reset happening before our eyes and a reformation of the powers that be. And, mostly it's China, US, but I think worldwide there's some recognition that things are changing really fast. Not only just cycles, normal financial cycles, people with previous generations are retiring and moving on, and then their kids are taking over, but also just technological shifts with AI and AGI and blockchain, all these things coming up that are having real world effects on how we live our daily lives. And this is translating to volatility in the markets, and that volatility has hit its apex point now with Trump coming in, realizing that things need to change, and he has his own agendas. We don't really know what those agendas are, but they're translating into tariffs right now. So it's interesting to see how it plays out. But I can see the game theory playing out what the U.S. is trying to do and against what China is trying to do. But it is more and more volatility. I would say get used to it, because I don't think that this volatility is going to go away. I think it's going to keep expanding from here on. I'm not sure at what point you would consider it calm. It may be the new norm.
Yeah, well said there. It's so many crazy weeks ahead, I think. I think this period of the market's going to be huge, and I think we have this huge opportunity. And again, you guys, I don't want to say you're a Bitcoin maxi, but you've definitely been, a Bitcoin OG for quite some time. But the last couple of weeks, and furthermore, the next couple of weeks, provided a huge opportunity for us to sort of decouple from TradFi, which we've pretty much done sort of post-COVID over the last couple of years. M2 money supply goes up, Bitcoin goes up, we as crypto go up, it goes down, we go down. We sort of follow the market now, which doesn't bode well to our sort of long-term narrative. Do you think we have a chance over the next couple of weeks to maybe decouple from that narrative and from that chart? Or do you think it's going to be status quo and we're just going to be sort of another financial vehicle to invest in?
I mean, if you look at the log chart, it's saying a different story. But if you look at the daily chart, then of course we are susceptible to the commodities, and we were labeled as a commodity, right? Like Bitcoin is known as a commodity. It could have been labeled as a security, but it's a commodity, and so it's trading like a commodity, and it's in those baskets in the money markets with allocations as commodities, which are risk on, risk off based on interest rates and M2. So globally, as more liquidity expands, and it usually typically goes into assets like this, safe assets, goes into gold and silver and other bonds and stuff, as Bitcoin as well. It's getting more and more into the spotlight in terms of how it's perceived as a store of value and a precious commodity. At the bottom of Extra's pyramid, it's probably still something like gold and cash is king style thing, but that's, it's moving down towards the base over time. But if you look at the log chart, it has bucked the trend because it's done exponential gains. Any market has these characteristics where there's fear and greed and there's supply and demand coming in, and usually the retailers are rinsed out and then the whales come in and buy it up. It's only a span of a few months where the fundamentals kick in and a new price discovery mechanism pushes it to a new level, a new floor. And that's when you realize, like, at those moments, usually most people are bearish or they're out and they have to buy in at a higher price. But that's when the repricing happens and we realize that it has outperformed the market. It's not performing just like a regular commodity. And 95% of the time, it's going to trade as like any other risk asset. So it feels like 95% of the time we're yelling into echo chambers saying, yeah, it's just like everything else. It's not any different. But then 5% of the time it's like, oh, well, maybe it was different. And you go back to the same status quo. So I would say, look, if you zoom out long enough, you would see it is trading more than that. But in the day to day, it's definitely gonna feel like that. And that's a good thing because that means it's getting pushed into the same money markets that all these other commodities are, and that's where all the liquidity is.
Yeah, good point there. It's true. We do need access to those huge liquidity baskets. Great little primer. Let's jump into Syscoin. Give a bit of a TLDR, a bit of a history lesson on you guys and Syscoin as well, and sort of tie that into how bananas, how crazy the launch was last week. Also, congrats on the launch. That is huge. Mainnet for ZK, Sys, and Syscoin 5. Walk me through all those things, and then we'll get into the fun stuff here.
Yeah, so I think you nailed it. We were one of the first few coins actually in existence. Probably the first few coins to merge mine after Namecoin. I took that spec and built it into many different various repositories and coins. Did an early coin, a dev coin that was meant to redistribute shares based on common goods and writings and content creation. And that was like the first foray of doing more than just store value and vaulting with coins. You could do more. And Syscoin, I think on CoinMarketCap, it's ID 20 or 30 or something like that. So there were some coins around like Litecoin, DevCoin, IX Coin, some of these, but from the ones that have stuck around, I believe, yeah, we are probably top 5 up there that has been continuously evolving. And, people might see that, oh, it's a dinosaur coin. It means you haven't been really doing much because I haven't heard of you. But actually, we've been doing 12-hour days for 10 plus years, just because like how, personally, how important I think these things are, like quitting your job. And we've got a public funded company. We built all this around this. We were a little bit early, but now it's coming all into the picture, the broader picture of why it matters. Bitcoin itself has had its own sort of coming out as the ETFs and start catching on, and people start really believing in hyper Bitcoinization and being like the store value that everyone believes would be, everything else would be priced in. That is growing, right? And it was just a laughing stock for the longest time. This, in the same way, we feel there will be a understanding that yes, Bitcoin is like the main aspect of crypto is going to be store of value and holding your money. There is a whole nother universe of, I'd like to use that to stack more of the same sats, but in the same time, do autonomous things like unlocking real world use cases with autonomous smart contracts and IoT and this sort of stuff. And when AI comes in, the agents will likely be using on-chain liquidity and on-chain actions as well. And Bitcoin is a core part of that picture because you still need the vault or the store of value to back all of this activity up. The security needs to be tied in somehow. So these are really fundamental problems that not many people besides the OG class would see that. Like, I create a new L1. It's completely new. All I'm doing is smart contracts, and I
I
focus on
agree.
scale, right? I lose the aspect of, oh, I need this to be intrinsically tied to Bitcoin because of that security model. And I focus on, okay, I could start from scratch. Then I would do something like Solana, and I would not tie it into Bitcoin anyway. And I would just create a very hyper efficient database and a consensus around that. And our view has been that the more time that goes on, more people realize that even if there are more efficient mechanisms that Bitcoin to do this stuff, no one's going to switch to those because no one understands the difference enough for them to care. So Bitcoin is going to keep outgrowing these other assets from the monetary perspective. And the security model is going to reflect that with more and more hash power. Even if people are saying Ethereum with slashing is more secure, which I don't think so, but even if people are saying that, no one is still going to switch to that from the perspective of its money because Bitcoin has that first mover advantage. And there is not that much shift of understanding for the average person to realize that maybe Ethereum is a better money versus Bitcoin. So it's not going to happen. So our view we've been building with Bitcoin from the beginning, realizing that, yeah, the store value is there, but can we do more? And that more is what we're sort of untapping now with these recent advancements that we're doing.
I love that. One thing I have to ask Jag is, I mean, I can't, it can't all just be easy street, but I got to ask the question that everyone wants to ask, and that I ask every guest who comes on and builds on Bitcoin. We still really haven't seen anything. And again, we've had some incredible guests on the pod, and they're just like yourself, and they're working their asses off. And there's no doubt in my mind that they will build incredible solutions, protocols, ecosystems, you name it, on Bitcoin. But right now, present day, as we record in mid-April 2025, you still really can't do anything with Bitcoin. Like, you can hodl it and you can send it, you can earn some yield, you can lend it. I think that's it. Maybe I'm missing some, but as of right now, that's still all we got. When do you think all the incredible companies like yourselves who are building in the Bitcoin space, when do you think there will be some PMF, some product market fit, and users will have not only options, but really good products to actually use Bitcoin besides that store value, and for the few people that do send it as well?
It's a tough question because in the TradFi sense, Ethereum didn't make too much sense, right? Because the first PMF was just, let me just do a bunch of crowd sales and rinse people of their money. And then the second PMF was, let me do Uniswap or meme coins. And does that really add any value to the world other than there's a new price discovery mechanism where people, someone in Africa in their basement can create some value out of nothing and then become wealthy? There's no real economic contribution to that other than there's open and fair markets to bet on anything. You can bet on pigs or dogs as pictures. So, that begs the question, like what type of PMF came out of Ethereum itself? I think we're uncovering that stuff still. Like, there's lending markets and borrowing market that came that wouldn't be possible in TradFi because of the middleman, the fees involved, and the insurance costs and all that, the counterparty risk that comes with that. And there's these use cases that are coming. There's verifiable cloud computation that, Eigenlayer guys are doing, and tying that to AI agents is going to be critical for AI to make autonomous decisions. This is all stuff that needs to come on chain. And then there's making more efficient markets like NASDAQ. These sort of things start to, right now you have circuit breakers and all sorts of stuff. You have front running and MEV attacks. Those sort of things in the TradFi markets are killing the retailers and fair access to liquidity and access to these instruments. Putting that on chain gives you one more closer step for retail and make it a less evil playing field and an even playing ground for everybody. That playground where everyone's playing fair is more efficient and more productive overall than a few people that are reaping all the benefits. And that's what all blockchain's about, right? But then Ethereum took that and said, okay, well, yeah, let's scale that up. But it lost the aspect of, tying it back to BTC, which is the vault, the crypto asset with the vault. And creating a bridge is not really secure because it will always break, just like a centralized exchange will pretty much, like as a company, will always go away at some point because it's not your keys. If you control your keys, put them in a safe spot and they're never going away type of thing. Even with quantum risk, things like Bitcoin is a little bit more safe than other designs. So I think overall, most people just believed in the story of just HODL because there's not many great PMFs that add to the economic value of the world and increase the GDP. But I think that's changing because of the aspect of what the PMFs might be representing, because I think as we proceed with technology advancements like AI, the competition in the world to create value is going to shift to I have a great idea, so let's get a team and raise $100 million and then go to market at $1 billion valuation, to I have a great idea, I'm just going to launch a bunch of agents and make a bit and compete with Apple directly. One person that's competing with Apple directly. That is something profound that's going to happen really quickly. And that's going to change the dynamics of how we perceive value and money and all that stuff in the first place. So you still need to secure people from doing financial transactions, whether that finance represents meme coins or represents some lending borrowing market. In the new world, how we perceive things with this huge amount of competition coming and producing huge amount of value and surplus of value that's coming. And I think that that story is changing quickly. We're not sure what it looks like because we can only see maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead. But the aspect of the tech is increasing so fast. We know our intuition is strongly telling us there's a connection there. And these things are definitely going to be on-chain. Deterministic AI and deterministic usage of on-chain services is going to be in demand. It's not going to be a bank that's going to be holding custody of computing and actions on that computing and finance. It's going to be something like an on-chain computer that's doing all that. And that's why it's important. But tying it to Bitcoin was the hardest part. Like no one could figure that out without creating a multi-sig. And that's sort of what we've been focusing on.
Nice. Jag, you're on a roll here. Quick shout out to our sponsor of the show. And when we get back, we're going to keep buzzing on scaling Bitcoin's utility. And we're going to get into some AI fun stuff as Jag has sort of gone viral on good old crypto Twitter talking about AI. Huge shout out to Treehouse, new sponsors of the show. Been following Treehouse protocol for a while now, and it's clear they are laying the foundation for fixed income and DeFi. Treehouse features 2 powerful innovations: T-Assets, which is a new class of liquid staking primitives designed to generate enhanced yields through interest rate arbitrage, and DOR, short for decentralized offered rates, a transparent and reliable consensus-driven benchmark rate for digital assets. Together, they tackle some of DeFi's biggest problems: fragmented interest rates and the lack of unified benchmarks. Whether you're looking for stable yields or helping shape the future of on-chain finance, Treehouse has the infrastructure to power your journey. They're also running their Go Nuts rewards program. Simply hold T-Assets to earn nuts and stand to be rewarded at the end of the campaign. Head on over to the website at treehouse.finance to explore more, and follow them on X at TreehouseFi to stay updated. Huge shout out to our sponsors of the show, and that is Treehouse. Now back to the show with Jag. Bit more on scaling Bitcoin utility, maybe just a couple aspects in particular, whether it's smart contracts, that you guys are doing, roll-ups, decentralized apps, all powered by Bitcoin Secure Network. But just as we are a little tight for time, give me just a couple of the parts that you are most proud of and that you think has the most virality for what you and the team are building on to bring Bitcoin to the next level.
Yeah. So if we think that the story of Bitcoin, it may not be, let me send you money and buy coffee, right? That's highly likely not the story of Bitcoin. That's maybe what people thought about it as, but when the paper was written, I don't think that was the intention. They may have said it was a payment system, but I don't believe it was meant for transactionality, especially given there were some early talks of using snack machine example, for example, buying something from a machine for candy, putting in Bitcoin, but that was not the target use case, right? So if it's not that, then what is it? Because it is like a gold, but I believe it's like a governance system where the governance is global, and you get to decide on policies in the future based on how much you hold. Then tying it to a financial system with autonomous contracts is going to be hugely important, because the governance and the store of value matters in that story a lot. Deciding on, where to allocate your purchasing power and earn more of it, possibly. That the bridge is something that we have been looking at for a long time. Is just before something like BitVM came out, which is an emulation of a computer on Bitcoin, we had no proper way to create a trust model that doesn't break down, doesn't centralize. So that was what Robin Linus came up with, but we took that concept and we're building it from the aspect of creating a sidechain, which is Syscoin, and enabling that Bitcoin to freely flow through there without any major trust assumptions. So right now there's a lot of layer twos and Bitcoin rollups. They settle on Bitcoin and then they use the data. They won't scale as much, but there's less trade-offs of security. And there was no sidechain approach that doesn't create a new attack vector. Like if you if you have X sidechain and then you take over the validators or the miners of the sidechain, then you could double spend that bridge and just take all the funds, right? If the cost is less than the amount of bounty that you can earn. Having a secure sidechain that doesn't have that is almost like a silver bullet. Like it's almost thought to be impossible. And so our target research was to try to maximize the security of that, to try to not make any new assumptions, yet you're using a sidechain bridge. Once you get a sidechain, you have all sorts of flexibility. Your tokenomics could be geared towards utility. You can have data availability. You can have rollups. You could have modular expansion like Ethereum's trying to do, and create your ZK computing platforms on top. And you have way more expressibility and functionality that you can build on top without the cumbersome aspect of having to put it all on Bitcoin in the data. So yeah, we came up with, and the latest Syscoin has these features enabled where the Bitcoin miners are putting some extra metadata into Bitcoin representing Syscoin state. And we're going to leverage that to build a very secure BitVM extension so that Bitcoin can freely flow across the chains.
I love that. Jag, last sort of big main point we'll touch on here today, my friend. AI, AGI, building AI ready infra for crypto. You've gone a little viral on Twitter. I don't want to ask you anything in particular. I think it'd be better if you just gave us sort of your blanket thoughts, just a good old brain dump. But walk me through what is going on present day for AI and crypto, and what do you think the future of these two massive, crazy big industries looks like?
Yeah. We can't see that far ahead, and it's moving so fast that we just have to make very general assumptions, right? A lot of people say, why would a blockchain guy care about AI? Or, it feels like it's a flavor of the day thing that we're talking about AI now. Sriram is all in on AI, Vitalik always talking about AI now. It's not flavor of the day. It's realizing that when I was doing my computer science stuff, I was doing a lot of neural networks and AI stuff. At that time, the computing was so low that a 4x4 or 16x6 matrix would take so long to calculate. It was not very useful. Like you can put it in the game, the AI, and I made a little game where the AI detects your surrounding and starts to shoot you, and it's pretty good. You would never win against it, but a generalistic solution was not thought possible maybe in our lifetimes until the next word prediction came. And now we have to think about it, and we have to say, where does it fit in? And for me, it makes a lot of sense from the financial aspect of doing anything related to money or value that it would intersect with Bitcoin or crypto in general. For example, like if you know that AI's intelligence is going to be higher than any single person, then it can make a better decision on investments. It can figure out where to allocate capital and make more money. Once it does that, almost think of it like as a DAO where people can invest in it, and it will be more profitable than any other hedge fund or any other fund out there. It will capture most of the moat and the value of the world if it's making more money regularly. And how do you manage that on chain? How do you control that? How do you not let it be manipulated by people or other agents? And that's the tricky part, right? How do you make it so that you can have AI and agents come on chain without having these key leakages and consensus decisions amongst other agents, and not manipulated to invest in something bad or just send the funds out? And that's at least the first step we see is something that we need to solve. There's going to be all sorts of other stuff like making sure you can do private LLM inferences, and also other things like making sure it's deterministic, so that the AI can't veer off on its own and start taking over, because all of its actions are deterministic. The register on chain. These a few big use cases that we see, but later on, step 2, step 3, we're not sure what that looks like yet.
Gotcha. Last thing, agents. When do you think we're going to get some crazy good agents? This is something that excites me and scares the living shit out of me at the same time, because I have so many friends, people I know and love who, I guess candidly speaking, could be so easily replaced by an agent, it's not even funny. How far away are we from agents legit being a thing and coming in and just being so bloody useful and cost effective that we have no choice but to replace humans for agents?
I'll ask you a question. Remember when GPT-4 came, and every single quarter you were wondering, is my context data going to fit within the window and it's not going to hallucinate? And the first time we used it, we were always thinking about, oh, it's hallucinating again. I need to make sure I fit my data within the context. We don't even think about that now, right?
No.
Like, we just give it the data and it's filtering through, doing semantic search on it.
Spits out fire.
And it's basically, it's almost like you can't make it forget at this point. And that's only in the span of 2 years. Over the next year, there's already San Francisco software hubs that are shutting down. Like, if you go to San Fran, there's tons of empty software buildings now. Huge, big companies that are just being shut down because they're being replaced by these armies of agents already. By the end of this year, 80% of the code is going to be done by AI.
That's wild.
80% of the whole world's code, right? And logically, you would think an operating system is the next step. Like, you create like an AI-based OS that is basically just able to do everything and interact with all the devices and senses as a normal person would. So I think in a year or so, there's going to be a big displacement. I mean, I've been telling my own people in my personal life, 1 or 2 years, you'll start seeing big changes. And that's why all the political stuff's happening as well, I believe. So it's all intersected. So 1 or 2 years, and it's probably going to be big changes in our lives.
Wow. Crazy times ahead. Jag, what an episode. Appreciate you coming on, dude. And congrats on the launch. That was huge to get ZK SYS out there. Congrats to you and the team. I know you guys have been working on that for a hot minute. Before you let us go today, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and, of course, Syscoin online and on socials?
Yeah, I'm on Discord and Telegram. My personal email, sidhujag@syscoin.org if anyone wants to contact, or just @realsidhujag Telegram. We're on there. We're always available, open to chat. It's a little bit different than maybe other coins. We're very public and try to engage as much as possible when we can. But right now it's really busy. It's hard to engage too much, but yeah, we're very more like the Bitcoin ethos of trying to build organically and really as a team, as a community. So yeah, I look forward to connecting with anyone who has questions or interests or thoughts.
Love it, folks. What an episode with Jag Sidhu, core developer at Syscoin. He touched a little bit of everything: Trump's, tariffs, tantrums, and its implications on the market, the founding story and history of Syscoin, AI-ready infrastructure, human observation and AGI, scaling Bitcoin's utility, and of course the launch of mainnet ZK SYS. Huge shout out to Jag and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe, as it would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. And back to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao.